All right, we'll start.
Yeah, the music.
8 seconds. 8, 7,
Wow.
6, 5,
Feel
4,
the anticipation just building.
3,
3 7/8.
2, 2.5, 1. We begin. So here we are, episode 1 of 24/7 Realty
afternoon.
podcast.
Still haven't started
Like to
until the
introduce-
music starts.
Start? No music? We got to start again.
There we go.
Now we begin.
Welcome.
Welcome, everyone.
For the fifth
Welcome,
time.
everyone out there. We're here. For those of you guys who don't know us, this is Mo, the
Hello.
Mandalorian, Perez, Christian Deanda,
Yeah, the degenerate.
Claudia Zaker, and myself,
Hello.
Chuck Flair, branch manager,
Foundling.
West Coast Funding, 2021 reigning goat of Cornerstone Production.
That's right.
Wow.
You
They came
were.
today. They brought me a gift today.
See how he had the long intro and we were just like Claudia,
I was a
Christian.
fucking Mandalorian.
Mo the
What is
Mandalorian.
that? What is that? Like,
I just
21 years of being a broker and I get a Mandalorian.
but a
first of all,
Mandalorian.
A bounty
though.
hunter with no face.
Yes, but he did have a face in the last episode.
The fuck is a
Don't-
band?
don't ruin it.
Mandalorian. I don't even know what that is.
Mandalorian.
Chuck's a Star Wars nerd,
It's
so
the guy that was in actor that was in Game of Thrones. Got his face pushed in.
A Mandalorian?
What's
I'm
a
not,
Mandalorian?
I'm not there yet.
You haven't watched on what?
What?
Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones, I think I'm on
you
like
went way
season
back.
2.
You
Then
went,
see- oh,
so that was
wow.
like his
Yeah.
breakout. You didn't go to Narcos. You went all the way back to Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that was a great. I thought he almost won that fight with the Mountain. I was cheering for him. You remember that?
The bisexual Colombian.
Yes, him.
Yeah.
Wow, you went there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you remember it.
Well,
Honestly, felt disturbed after that episode. I didn't take a break.
anytime I see people in a brothel, I just get excited.
What episode in season was that?
It was season 5 or 6 or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Got a long ways.
I one time brought a jackass into a
Am I
brothel.
the only
Did they
one
have
that-
mortgages back then?
Right.
Realtors?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
So,
either.
so how was
So-
your week, Claudia?
My week was amazing. It was amazing. I'm happy that it's Friday now. I moderated a NAREP event, so today was a good day. Haven't really done any work yet.
She did great. She did a really good job being the monitor. But since we're all here and we're supposed to talk about work, but
Yes.
I think I would like to know more about what your past lives that you did that either helps you today, the company, or drives you. So I know they mentioned that you used to be in law enforcement.
Yes.
And so going from being sheriff to, owning a brokerage, I'm sure there was some changes that caused that to happen. So how'd that work out?
It kind of translates being a county sheriff, deputy sheriff, over to real estate. Same thing, right? You could, right, same thing.
Dealing with unreasonable people, is that what you mean?
Unreasonable people. Yeah, I was going to get there. Yeah, I think I always wanted to be a detective, and I grew up with family who was in law enforcement. Did a lot of martial arts, taekwondo growing up, and then judo in college. So just something to prepare me. I got my criminal justice degree and started as a deputy sheriff, wanted to become a detective, catch some bad guys, and then it was an interesting transition from that to real estate.
How was the academy? Was it tough?
The academy was tough. It was fun. I'm very competitive, so that was it. Was fun, trying to compete against the other guys, showing them, as a woman, you kind of have to act tough and
Was
say.
it very sexist, like the environment, the other law enforcement officers?
I think the instructors were a little more harder. They were like drill sergeants. I think that's the kind of sheriffs are. It's almost like the military. Drill sergeants yelling at you, are you going to cry now? Daddy's not here to you just get up, stop, because they want to toughen you up. Because if you're out there on the streets and somebody's, you got to be toughened up. So it was fun getting maced.
Maced?
Yes, they would mace us. They
Sounds
would
like
shoot
Saturday night
BB
at my
guns
house.
on Saturday night at your house. Next episode, talking about
You would
Christian's
be investigating
episode.
people like Christian if you would have stayed on that path.
So the academy wasn't like police academy.
Police
like,
academy.
right? No, like Lieutenant Hooks and all those guys.
I love those shows.
Great movie. I have a question.
Yes.
So, you grew up doing martial arts. I did not know that. I knew you were in law enforcement. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, Van Damme or Steven Seagal? Who wins in a fight?
I'm going to say
Like right
Van
now?
Damme.
No, like then.
Back then? Mm-hmm. Steve didn't really know how to fight. He just had that fucking
Van
greasy
Damme.
ponytail. Van Damme.
Van Damme.
Van Damme?
Yeah.
I don't think he actually knew martial arts, but he was one of my favorites.
Just like that
blood sport.
chiseled.
He was
He
flexible.
like very chiseled.
Flexible.
Was he
He was a
flexible?
gymnast.
He would win that competition.
Yeah.
Did you have any like scary moments that kind of like said, "Oh shit"? Like,
Yeah, a lot of scary moments. I saw a lot of stuff. I was becoming very paranoid. Even just walking down gas lamp, somebody would brush me.
really? And so, how did you then transition? Like, what was the first thing that says, "Ooh, I'm gonna go with this career in real estate"?
Had investments where I was managing our own properties. So I said, let me just get my license. We were doing a lot of flips, things of that sort while I was still in the sheriff's department, and then got my license so we can do that. Then I started helping one colleague, another colleague, other police officers.
Yeah.
And then when I saw my paycheck in the first 3 months of real estate and I compared it to my law enforcement check, I was like, 3 months, I make what my entire year of salary. Something's got to change. And I don't have to work crazy 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
I was newly married. I was hardly seeing my new husband. So I was like, all right, I'm going to have to make this marriage work. I'm going to have to make a career change. Did that, and then I went through it was tough. I missed it.
Yeah.
I missed it. It was hard because I had left it. Because you develop that peer, just that camaraderie with your peers. I mean, we were hanging out after work, on the weekends, wherever. You just become very close because you depend on each other so much. Right. So I missed that part a lot. And then we know real estate can be very lonely.
Yes, very lonely.
Right? You're an independent contractor. You're on your own. You're everything. Right. So it was a big transition for me to go from that, there I was surrounded by, friends and people who had my back, to being on myself. So it was a big struggle, I remember, for a while. Yeah.
So when you were still a sheriff, you would go to family functions where you're like, fuck, she's here. We can't drink and drive and do drugs.
Actually, it was the other way. They're like, can we name drop you?
That's usually what I hear when there's a law enforcement in a party, or like, hey, what do I do if this happens? But yeah.
And I would say law enforcement people are even, when they party, they party.
Yeah,
they party hard.
All the free drugs.
Confiscation.
I'll put this in evidence. I'm going to take this one for me.
You're going to cut that out of the podcast, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
No cutting. She said one take.
One take.
So since this is kind of like our first episode, number one, kind of from the beginning, talked a little bit about our past. I want to hear a little bit about you guys, and then we can bring it fast forward to where we are today.
That sounds good.
And where we're going.
Yeah, so now we go over to Mo, who, as many of you may know, he's a very famous rock star in Latin America. Well, for the middle-aged crowd and up.
Define middle age.
62.
20 to 40. It's middle of 62, right?
Yeah.
Middle age is 20 to 40?
I don't know.
Hey, don't scare me.
What got you into music?
I was always into basketball, right? I was tall. I always played basketball. So that was like, I didn't really get into music until I was 16. But I always had, whenever I would hear music, I would make up my own melodies and lyrics. I was never interested in music. That was just like the extent of it. And then I picked up a guitar when I was 16. Started messing around with, I used to listen to like Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots. That music kind of got me into playing some of the basic stuff. But it wasn't until I listened to Green Day when I thought, okay, I think I can play this. Because, the other, like the grunge music was a little more technical. I mean, it's loud, but it's got more of a technical element to it. Whereas punk rock is just, hey, bar chords, balls to the wall. If you can do one chord, you can really do 30 of them. And then that started getting me into wanting to learn and play the guitar a little more. And then I got into Blink-182, and I'm like, wow, this is even easier. I could really do this.
That's the state of affairs of music today. Just
right
downhill.
And then I just started. I met up with a friend of mine from junior high, and we both had the same. We were both into sports. When I was in college, he was I was playing college basketball, he was playing college football, and then we would get together on vacations when we were both in TJ and say, hey, let's, when we're both graduated, let's start a band. And we did that. It just so happened that I got my broker's license and started in real estate at the same time I started the band. So real estate was very easy back in 2000 to make okay money if you just showed up. Right. So I would go to work for a month, get some deals going, and then I would go on tour for a month. And then I'd come back and do it all over. So I was gone probably 6 months out of the year, touring all over Mexico, building a fan base. And
what was the biggest crowd you played to?
Well, we played in front of like 60,000 people.
Wow.
It's not our crowd, but like festivals.
Right.
I mean, but our own crowd, probably like 5,000 people. Mexico City.
Okay. Stage fright at all?
I always get butterflies. I wouldn't call it fright, but it's always like anxiety and the nerves of, okay, I want to get up there, and you really can't differentiate whether you're nervous or you're excited. It's just one emotion.
What do you do to pump yourself up?
I just stretch because I don't want to. I'm getting older and I don't want to.
You scratch?
No, stretch.
Oh.
Scratch.
Scratch.
That was going to be interesting. That was going to lead to a
Wow.
whole bunch of questions there.
Yeah.
No, I scratch.
We all scratch.
No, so no, just I stretch. I do a little bit of get the blood flowing and then get up there.
I see a book in the near future, like a stretch book, rock stretch book. What kind of stretches to do before you go on stage?
Yeah, and it's just like with anything. Like when I played basketball, I was always super nervous. I felt like my legs weren't under me until I made that one play, right? Like if I scored a bucket or did a good pass or grabbed a rebound, then you forget about it. It's the same thing with music. Once you get up there and you start playing, you feel the crowd. That makes it a lot easier. When you're first starting and the crowd's just like non-responsive, like my early years, it was like the nerves would stay for a while. But then you get more comfortable, you get better, and then when you really get to engage the people and they already know your songs, then it's super easy to get up there.
Have you ever felt the same adrenaline rush after completing a great set in real estate?
Oh, God, no.
Never?
No.
Like the first big paycheck?
No. I mean, it might be different for different people. Money doesn't really motivate me. So to me, it's very different.
Yeah.
Getting a deal into escrow or getting a closing, that's great, right? But there's nothing like, and even in basketball, right? When you're competing at, like I've never, since I left basketball, I haven't gotten that competitive edge again. Like that's lost. I don't have it in anything. Even in real estate, it's different, but I haven't gotten that because it was at a higher level when I was in playing basketball. But in music, there's really not a competitive element to it. But there's that satisfaction of, hey, when you create something and then you record it, that's the satisfaction that I don't get anywhere else. Or if you get on stage and people are singing your song, that's the moment that you can't really recreate with. Yeah.
So I want to know like that feeling, like describe to us, because I got the pleasure of seeing Mo on stage. This is when Scotty was part of their band and Max and I went to see you. I was like blown away. I couldn't, because Mo, for those of you who know him, he's so composed and serious and, he knows his stuff as a broker and you see him in that light. And then to see him on stage in a whole different way.
Another challenge.
No shit's given.
That's amazing.
Whoa, is that our broker up there? But I want to know because you're in like your element, your zone. I want to know what does that feel like when you're up there, when you're at the top of your game, everything's going awesome. Crowd's going wild. What is that? Describe the feeling.
It's hard to describe because there's nothing I can compare it to. It's like people ask me, what does it feel to be tall? I don't know. I've always been tall. Like if I get on my knees and I'm your height, well then I know what that feels, and that's way different.
She was a sheriff. She can help you get on your knees.
God.
Prove my file.
But it's right. But it's kind of just the energy that you get from people. It's like when you feel energy in a room, like positive energy. That's the feeling. I mean, I can only, like when you hit it off with somebody, right? Or you're having a great time at a party, it's that kind of energy, but then you obviously multiply it because you're in this sense, you're So you're on stage and the crowd isn't, and they're cheering or singing. Really, when people sing your songs, that's when I get mostly blown away because you're like, you created something in your head that it's now, call it 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 people are singing. That's amazing. And I can only imagine that if you're like an architect and you create something and you see it built and people love it and they're going to visit some monument or whatever, that's kind of what I think the type of feeling it would be. But I mean, different people have different talents and like some people experience that, like you said, in real estate. If they close a listing, maybe they get that feeling. I don't know. I don't get it, but maybe they do. Depends on what you're motivated.
Did you ever feel kind of like a little depression after that high of being on stage?
No. Like to me, being on stage is not like my top activity. To me, like creating in the studio and recording, that to me is like there's no replacing. But it's a different type of satisfaction. Like the gratification I get from being on stage is like a rush.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But on like in the studio and creating, it's more like fulfilling, you know?
Very cool.
Very cool.
I can relate. When I was a salsa dancer for many years, I was part of a team, and so we would perform around the world.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Okay,
I don't know.
let's jump over to Christian because I want to know more about this.
Salsa?
Yes, I was in the first, because every around the country there's teams, right? And so San Diego had the first salsa team called Salsa y Fuego. I always wanted to be an actor / comedian, and so the manager at the time said, well, you need to learn how to sing, dance, and act. And at a young 20s, you're in a rush for everything, right? So I'm like, well, singing's out the question. I can't sing for shit. But dancing, like, I'll just go take a salsa class and I'll just say, put that on my resume. And it was a lot harder than I thought. And so I met a mentor who worked at a dance studio downtown, and we just hit it off. And his wife was also an instructor. And we went to LA to see a up-and-coming salsa team in there called Salsa Brava. And I was just blown away by their performance. And so they said, let's start a team. And we started, and he was ex-Navy, so he's very regimented. So we would train maybe up to 20 hours a week. So Sundays was 6 hours. During the week it was 4 hours, and it was training like on your heels. Like, you couldn't put your feet down. And just read like over and over and over. And then we have to go out to the club to practice, and then we formed a team. We did really well our first couple of competitions, and Bacardi sponsored us to go out to Puerto Rico, which was the biggest conference that they have. And we just took it from there, and so we started getting calls from just other conferences. I think the biggest venue I danced to was about 15,000 people.
Wow.
But you practice these routines for months, and it's like sweating and just grinding it out. But once you do that performance, that adrenaline rush that you have, you know, because you're nervous, you're like, your body wants to not move, and you like have to force it through. But yeah, it's just that
So
rush. It's unexpected.
How many years did you do this?
10 years.
10 years. Wow.
I didn't know that.
I had no clue.
I knew you knew salsa because you had
Yeah,
mentioned
I've
it.
seen you.
But
On a table.
you saw him on a table?
You posted it.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it was 10 years because it's odd to me that I'm a loan officer in business because I've always had an artistic soul. And that's why I was asking about music and stuff. I've never, I sometimes feel like I'm a child in an adult's body being an imposter with what I do.
That's deep.
That makes sense.
Wow.
Do what you got to do, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, I've realized that you can't pay the bills with dancing. Well, unless you're a
That's-
stripper.
well,
unless you're a stripper.
Yeah.
Many talents around this table. Wow.
Right?
So now we have to go to Chuck.
What you got, Chuck? It
What
better
would
be
you like to
good.
know?
Well, I did know that you moved from New York to San Diego.
Yes.
Going
2000.
to school.
1999, actually. Yep.
Give us your best New Yorkin accent. Like New York or New Jersey or...
There's a huge difference between New York and New Jersey, first of all, in accents, let alone Boston, right? So it's just Boston, right? So New York is like, forget about it, right? That type of stuff, right? Or depending on how far you go, God forbid you go up to upstate New York, it's even way different. Then it doesn't even sound like that. It sounds like, give me some pap. That means soda.
Soda, yeah.
You ask for a soda, they're like, what do you mean? Stuff like that. So, no, yeah, I came out in 1999. Actually, it was summer of. And then was out here. And to be honest with you, I'll give you the truth. I did not have a friend for 2 years here. Didn't like any. I was just way too sarcastic. Can you believe that? I was sarcastic. I don't even know.
Really?
Oh yeah, seriously. It was like first 2 years here, I almost went back, and I was just like, this is just not my vibe. I don't know. It just didn't seem like what it was gonna be. It seemed like, I think in my mind I pictured it to be like Hawaii or something. I don't know. I'm like, it's cold here during the winter. What the hell? That's why I left. You know.
He came and said, "What are these brown people? What are Mexicans?"
Oh my, no, I knew who they were. I went to UCSD, studied there. Then I took a break from school, got into, I was working at Outback for a long time. That was fun, sales, you know. Yeah. Then into, I remember I won a margarita sales contest there. That was pretty fun. They gave me this giant bottle of wine. It was like 5 gallons.
Jealous.
Wait, I want to know what you were selling at Outback.
It was like margaritas.
Margaritas?
You were selling margaritas.
Them. Yeah, like this or you put an extra shot on them at Outback Steakhouse.
Wow.
Were you the bartender?
No, it was like a server. I'm like, did you want to upcharge that?
Did you get bips on that?
You know, yeah, it was something selling nonstop. Did you want that? Do you want that? Their check comes as $300. It's just like, well, what do you want me to do? You kept saying yes. You know, that club was. I mean, that restaurant was busy. 3-hour wait every night.
3 hours for Outback?
It was like the only Outback.
That's because they wanted to see Chuck.
Back then, I remember Outback was like a novelty.
It was.
Now it's like a Chili's, right?
Yeah, now it's like Chili's.
Which has some good vodka sodas, I'll be honest with you. Just saying.
Yep. So there, and then it was from there to 24-Hour Fitness. Worked for them for many years, and that was honestly like the best learning experience from a sales perspective I could ever have. Best salespeople I've ever met. That was huge. I'll be honest with you. It was quite abusive working there with those guys. But,
you're telling me.
Yeah,
like boiler room.
The boiler room was like that.
Really?
These guys could sell anything to anyone, and it was just amazing. I remember I was watching guys just sell so much training and memberships and all this stuff. And like there'd be situations. I remember this one guy used to work with us. His name was Doug Dees. I got to tell you the story. He literally, a guest comes in off of a guest pass. He's like, come on back, right? Sits her down. Like 30 minutes later, he walks up there, creates her credit card. He's like, bring this up, 3-year membership with 36 sessions, right? Cool. Like $3,000. She came in off a guest pass, right?
She probably came in once and never came back again, and for 3
well,
years.
No, true story. This is what happened. Not even that.
Like a timeshare.
So when you sold the gym membership, you could cancel it within like 3 days, right?
Yeah.
So
right of rescission?
Right of rescission, right? So the third day, she comes back with her mom. Like, hey, I'm here. She brought her mom for support or whatever, right? So, you know, because he felt that he was such a good salesperson, he was going to try to convince her. So he's like, no problem. Come on back. We'll get the cancellation signed for you, right? So he takes him into the conference room or whatever, the little sales room. Comes back up with the credit card. He's like, go ahead and up that to 72 sessions and add the mom 3-year membership and a year of training.
Wow.
Put it with the fitness manager. No bullshit. Totally true story. These guys were just the best. And it was just nonstop leads, appointments, shows, and sales. Those guys were ridiculous. Seriously. That's actually what brought me to Chula Vista. That's how I meet all you guys. So, because they opened up the Bonita one, and I happened to have the same day off as a buddy of mine. He was my assistant manager. We came down to that gym, and we walked into that gym, and it was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing gym. Because at the time, like the best club in San Diego was Grossmont, if you can believe it, which was not that nice.
No,
just kind of square and didn't have a basketball court. So. And I was worked down there for many years, and I met someone and got into mortgages from them back in 2005. So that's pretty much my story with that. 18 years later.
Here you are.
So Chuck, tell us something that like we wouldn't know, like a hobby or something that you're into.
Please don't let it be scratching.
I called dibs on that one.
Oh, man.
We heard about cookies.
Heard about cookies. I'm definitely a big traveler when I can. I went to India once. I don't know if I talked about that.
Oh, wow.
Went to India for a month, India and Nepal.
A whole month? Why a whole month?
Well, that's how long the trip was.
Wow.
So, yep, life-changing trip completely. Went there with no idea. I went with a big group, and my goal was to, when I got there, I said, before I left, my intention was, I'm going to go there and I'm going to find out what I'm going to be doing for the remainder of my life. And at the time, I was a loan officer, and I was very, very busy, and this was 2015, and rates were low, and I left my pipeline and we had like 60 loans in our pipeline. It was crazy, and I left at that time. I went to a place with no internet service, and you don't know.
That must have felt great.
It was really freeing, to be honest with you. But let me tell you something about India. Like, you don't know poor until you go to India. That is like the poorest place in the world, and it's just like you go into restaurants, you see this big menu of food, like, oh, I'll take this, and this. Like, oh, that's not available. Oh, that's not available. That's not available. That's not available. Like, what is available? Pizza. Pizza's available. I remember we were driving from, we actually flew from Delhi to Varanasi, which was like near the Ganges River. Now that was bad. That was like, oh man, like the hotel we stayed in, it was like, I swear there was like someone was killed on that mattress at some point. It was just insane. And then we drove from there to Bodh Gaya, and we had a 9-hour bus ride with nothing but expired potato chips and Coke the whole day. Literally, I remember walking across the street. I almost got hit by a bus because the cars are going from the opposite direction, opposite side of the street. That was a life-changing trip for sure. Came back and life was never the same.
Never the same.
Never the same.
You play those New Yorkers, imagine that move out to California and start eating things that ended Edo and are health nuts and don't drink and spiritual.
Yeah, when I left New York, I swear, when I go back to New York now, it doesn't look at all like it was when I left in 99. I mean, everyone's cell phones were... I didn't have a cell phone when I lived in New York. I was 21 years old. There was no one had that. There wasn't even a Walmart in my town at that time. Now it's just so different now.
Would you ever go back?
To visit,
Not to live?
Nah, for sure not.
I would. I'm tired of Mexicans.
Wow.
Really?
Just kidding.
Ironically enough, when I did leave, the bands I was listening to were your
kicking
band.
him under the table right now.
You don't have enough legs for that. You want help? I got big feet. I can kick him.
I'll scratch your foot.
Oops.
Bleep.
When I did leave, all the bands I was listening to were those same bands you mentioned, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Green Day, STP, all those guys, my favorite.
Yeah.
You guys are old. I'm glad I'm not your generation.
You are like a year younger than me.
Put me on blast. I gotta go out
Salsa
tonight.
boy.
You're older than me by like 3 weeks.
That's rude.
I remember seeing Rage Against the Machine this summer before I left.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Never even heard Blink 182 until I got here.
Did you go to Lollapalooza when I was at San Diego State?
No. I used
In
to go
Lollapalooza
to
at all?
Warp Tours.
No, not La Pelusa, Lollapalooza.
La Pelusa.
Lollapalooza.
Eso sí fui.
Crazy.
Wow, interesting backgrounds. Love it. Thank
Now
you.
we're all
I
here.
think I
Oh, look
learned
at
a little
us
bit
now.
more about. Now look at us here. So where are we, guys? Where have we come? Let's talk about our story now. Where did we all meet? Like, how did this come to be?
Well, I'll start off. So when I first got into loans, I think it was maybe the third month I was in it. The loan officer broker I was with invited me to something that was called the NAREP thing. I didn't even know what that was, and so it was at the hotel admission center. And I'm sitting at the table and I see Bones. Like, wow, this guy's tall, and I think he was the president at that time. So he's a big shot. I'm like nobody. And I looked up to him like he was really cool. Like really nice, very approachable. Because sometimes people in our industry can be really, standoffish or who are you? But it's really cool, really nice. And it's funny that I think about it now so many years later. I'm doing a podcast with this person that I right off the bat was like, wow, that's someone I'd like to be like.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
how life is.
Wow. I'm going to play footsie with you now instead of kicking you.
Vamos a joderme con la pelusa.
That's crazy. NAREP, yeah. And now, so I'm involved with NAREP. Claudia's involved with NAREP.
For those who don't know, it's an association of real estate professionals for Latin people.
So it stands for the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals.
Correct.
Very
Great
cool.
organization. Yep. And today's actually the birthday of the founder.
Oh, wow, that's
Yesterday,
cool.
yeah.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, yesterday.
Yeah, but and it's funny. So my first job out of college. As soon as I graduated, I got my broker's license, and I got a job in real estate. Right, I was working for a .com. It was called a One Home One Loan. They would pair realtors with home buyers or home sellers, and they would give them like a cash back. Right. So I did that until right after 9/11. I remember walking into after 9/11, and then the owner of the company was like, "Well, you guys can keep working here, but I just can't pay you anymore."
What?
And I was like, "What?" And this was after like a little over a year, about a year and a half, where I was doing the conference circuit for that company. I would go to, NAR, CAR, all the different conferences, and you get to meet some of the same other companies, right? there was this company called Real Estate Español. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, because back then there wasn't really much. I mean, NAREP was barely an organization. They started in '99. So I meet this guy, and then I find out that he's involved with NAREP. And then about 5-6 months later, this story I just mentioned happens. So I'm like, God, what am I gonna do now? So I call him up and I'm like, hey, you're still looking for loan officers? Because Real Estate Español was a kind of a branch of a lending company. And he was like, yeah. So I went in there, and this was Gary Acosta's lending company. And that's how I got involved in REP. And that's where I started, doing loans, mostly refinances back then. There was a big refi boom. And I had this conversation with Gary a lot. It's like, hey, do you think that NAREP would be where it is now if it wasn't for the refi boom? Because obviously he was funding that initially through himself, right? So, and I got to thinking of that, because the same thing with my band. Like, I don't think I would have gotten as far if I didn't have the means to invest and be able to go for 6 months. So I credit real estate with really where I'm at today in all aspects of my life, not just in real estate or, not just professionally, but NAREP's been a big part of my life. I sit on the national board of directors now, and it's important to get involved with organizations you believe in, and it just, that's how I guess you met me, and now here we are.
We'll see
playing footsie under the table.
We'll see each other in DC.
We will.
You can help
I'll
me
be there.
scratch.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome. So, all right. So you knew of Mo back then, and then what was it in 2000? Gosh, it's been 7 years since we
started the brokers. Our partnership,
our partnership about
7 years.
About 7 years ago. So 7 years ago, I was at a blue company, and that I won't mention the name of, and weren't happy, weren't seeing eye to eye with the owners there, Max and I. And somebody approached us and said, actually, I think it was Erwin Martinez from Lawyers Title, and says, you know what, they're looking for a new franchise owners to take over the red company. Are you guys interested? So we said, okay, let's go look. And I didn't know anything about that company, and we went there, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. We were kind of thinking, should we start our own brokerage? We wanted something that had a little bit more meaning, cultural. Max came from nonprofit and giving back, and we just had a different way of seeing how to build a company and how to interact with the people you work with. And that's why that blue company wasn't just jiving with what, we believed in. So we went over there and we said, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's try it. And back then, I think it was very few agents. I don't know, maybe 20 or something like that were left at that company. It was just it was a sinking ship. And we said, all right, well, we got to build, some leaders. Who do we want to be? Who's going to help us, with this journey? And somehow, remind me, Mo, how we came across you, because you were a broker at another red company.
I was at another up north at another red company, and I was a broker record there. I had a client who was interested in investing in this company, and she met Max, and I guess it came up, hey, we need a broker, we need a leader to be involved, and my name came up. So then it's all timing, right? Right at that time, I wasn't ecstatic with what was going on with my situation that I had going on up there. So when the opportunity came to, be a partner, I jumped at it. I had just done it 2 years prior at the company I was at. So, and the learning curve it'll kick you in the ass. It's a tough learning curve. Setting up all the systems and just knowing what you need to know to be a good broker is a pretty daunting task. So I still had it fresh in my mind, and I'm like, all right, I'm willing to do it. Come back down to Chula Vista. I lived in Chula Vista, so it was the right timing, the right people, and I jumped at it, and it's been a little about a little over 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been about 7 years. So
yeah.
we kind of just started pretty much from scratch. New team, new staff, and
New building.
new building. We moved over the building, and then we said, okay, how do we this just distinguish from the reputation that previous company had, and how do we start fresh? Yeah. So, I mean, we rolled up our sleeves. I remember that, and we had a good group to start it off with. So that's kind of how Mo and I met. Mm-hmm. We became partners and started building, a great company. Grew it to over 100 agents, and and then now we're here with the black company.
Yeah.
Blue, red.
Once you go black, you don't go back. That we don't take you back. It's one of the.
God.
So let's. So now we're here. So now let's talk about where. Okay, so step by step. So first, talked about how Mo and I and our partnership, and then how we met Christian.
Well, I needed a job, and they just came to show up, and everyone says, "Don't mess with the ex-cop lady." I was scared shit.
We were looking for dancers for our gala.
Gala night, yeah.
And he showed up, and
what I like about Max and Claudia is that at work they're very professional, but if you ever see them outside of work, some people get in our industry, people have these high, they think they're better than everyone else, and they, the shit don't stink. And you never really get to know who they are, but you guys are so fun. Like, the way you get along with Brianna, like, you guys like sisters, it's just, that about you. And so what I love about you is that now that I feel like I get to know you better, you're actually really fun in a very genuine way.
Oh, thank you.
That's great.
Oh, I'm going to play footsies with you too.
And then Chuck, I've known of him for years. Never actually met him. But I have a good friend who I grew up with. Contreras, no?
Yep.
He always talk about you. Yeah, yeah. So and I followed you on Facebook for years. And then one day I just got a call out of the blue. I'm like, this is Chuck Flair. I'm like, oh, fuck, a white man's calling me. What did I do? And no, you're an amazing person. Like,
thanks, man.
Your vibes, your energy.
Yeah. Thanks, bro.
And this is without alcohol, which I still don't understand, but
It's amazing. It's amazing what's possible.
yeah, with alcohol.
It's amazing.
With or without.
With or without alcohol. So then Christian came along and was part of our organization as far as our lending side and lending partner. And then we had a company that moved in right next door to us, actually about a year ago, right?
Yeah,
about a year ago
year and a
or
half
so.
now.
A year and a half ago. We had a vacancy next door, and Chuck moved his branch over.
Yeah. At the time, it was more of this is kind of what happened. So I had left my prior company in 2019. I was with them for almost 14 years from the start of my career.
14?
Yeah, a long time. Well, with the same people, but then pretty much left that, and then kind of just worked from home pretty much for like a year almost. And then we got into that COVID year. We're extremely busy, and I swear I never even, my processor is Mara Cruz. I didn't see her for a whole year. We would just talk and maybe Zoom here or there, but we would talk every day. But we started getting very, very busy because 2020 was a low rate year. We're doing a ton of refinances, a handful of purchases, but I've actually got into the business doing mostly purchases, but just kind of got away from it, got mostly into refinances until back this year. So I remember I called her one day. I said, all right, you have like 5 junior processors in your living room. It's like a Chinese sweatshop at your house. I mean, do you think maybe what do you want to do here? I mean, do you think we maybe should get an office or something? So he's like, yeah. So decided and got it approved, and we started looking for spaces. And we actually looked at a lot of spaces all around here, but that suite was the one that we picked, and it was not the nicest suite. In fact, it was destroyed when we walked in there. It really was a mess, right? But it was one we liked. It had the best light. Energy was good. We're like, you know what? I didn't even notice, because sometimes I'm like this sometimes. I didn't even notice there was a real estate company next door because you guys were closed at that time because it was COVID.
COVID, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, I'm like, are they open? Or I'm not sure. And then anyways, so then it wasn't until we actually decided to annex the back, like the back office there, where we said, I'm going to have to do something with this carpet and this hallway because it's just a little outdated. So I I remember calling, and I actually asked the building managers, "Hey, can you give me Max's number, the neighbors next door?" He gave me the number. I called, and you guys were on vacation.
Yes.
He left a message, and then Max called me back the next day, and then I'd never spoke to him. I didn't even know what he looked like, to be honest with you. I just heard the name. Right? I heard your name, too. And I had no idea you worked there, but I've seen your name, And you know what? Appointment was set. We had a good conversation. Got some clarity out some things, and we made an appointment to sit. And I remember that conversation. I remember the whole thing because I remember exactly where I was sitting. I'm sitting at the edge. I had Griselda on my right. Then there was Felicity, and then there was Troy, and then there was Zach on the other end, and then there was Claudia right next to me. And then I'm watching. Most of the conversation was Troy and Max going back and forth. I remember the whole conversation. As I'm watching it, I'm like, "What's happening right now?" Like, what are they talking about? I was listening, but I'm like, something else is going to happen. And I walked away from that meeting. I'm like, whoa, this is going to be the start of something big. Let's see how this unveils and plays out. And I couldn't be happier with the way that it did.
Who's Felicity? Is she hot?
Yeah, Felicity's hot. So hot. Seriously. She's awesome.
That name just got me.
Yeah, Felicity, super. No, she's a success manager over there, top producing realtor over there. So she's awesome to work with.
I'm going to make sure Felicity gets a copy of this.
No, she's awesome. Her name is Felicity.
Remember that show in the 90s, Felicity?
That's what you're picturing right now, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing, the blonde girl.
I think Harrison
She
Ford's
is blonde.
wife's
I
name
love
is
her.
Felicity.
Yeah.
That's her, right?
Harrison Ford married Felicity. I love it because he was 60. She was like 20.
The show is Felicity. Her real name is Calissa Flockhart. Right.
Yeah,
No, that's a different one.
Oh, then I'm wrong.
No, yeah.
I'm right.
Flockhart, Felicity.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, though, Felicity's taken. I met her husband, and he's actually a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he is cool. He's a very nice guy.
Sorry.
I was trying to borrow it.
Wah, wah, wah. Don't you have a button for that sound? Wah,
I
wah,
thought Felicity was the one that married Scott Weiland. She had like a really curly hair.
Felicity was the name of the show. The actress's name was Calissa Flockhart.
And Scott Weiland died of a heroin overdose because his wife was a bitch.
You guys are too old.
Yeah. So now here we are, a year later.
So I want to talk a little bit about, because we all know Chuck and his manifestation.
Yeah.
He doesn't let me
And-
sign anything until next week when Mercury
Mercury
retrograde's
retrograde.
over.
Yep. That's right. Next
It's
week.
all about the energy and all that. And I got to say, I think he manifested this partnership together because
Oh, I 100% did.
Yeah.
Every morning I would walk.
That's why white people rule the world. That's manifestation.
I'm white. So maybe.
I got to say, we were looking for kind of just the right partner on the lending side, right, Mo? I mean, we had just ended a relationship that wasn't a positive one, and we were kind of looking for that right partnership. And I remember telling Max, I was like, you know what, I know it. I know we're going to meet an amazing, because we had a lot of, as soon as people knew that, we had an opening, and you know how lenders are, they're like,
Yeah, I know. I fucking hate lenders.
Yeah.
like sharks. I mean, we were getting calls left and right and setting up appointments, and I didn't even want to set up appointments. I was just like, nope. You know what? When it's gonna be right and when it's meant to be, it's gonna happen. And I just know it. I feel it. I mean, I was manifesting at the same time.
Yeah.
I knew it. I felt it. I was just, let's just be patient. Let's just wait. Something's gonna happen. It's gonna be right in front of us. And guess what? It was right in front of us.
Literally right in front of you.
Literally right in front of us. They moved right next door. So I think it was just in the works.
I like that.
Yeah.
That it was just coming together. Everything was meant to be. So tell us a little bit about that, Chuck. Your manifestation powers.
Honestly, it's like I learned that our real only responsibility is just to feel good about what we want. And I spent a lot of my life not knowing that. So I can tell you all right now, when you want something, feel good about it. It's all you need to do, and it is done. It may take some time. It may not happen tomorrow, but it will happen if that's what you feel good about, and you got to go with that, And from that first meeting that we had, that I did walk away from that meeting, and Grease and I drove home in the car. I'm like, I feel really good about this. This is pretty awesome. I felt a really good connection with both you and Max, And it was funny because we were just at the same time going through our own transformation, because we were, West Coast Funding was a direct lender. First started off as a broker, became a direct lender, and it was that way for 15 years and wasn't really trying to grow as much until around the time that I got there was when they really started, when 24/7 Realty was founded around the same year, I think just before I got there. And we had made the decision to become part of Cornerstone, which was a major change, to change from being in the direct lending world to go to the full banking, which just kind of gave us so much bandwidth, where we were able to do so many things that we couldn't do before. And we just had so much support and systems and all this stuff, and really kind of just launched us into space, you know. So we were really ready for this relationship. You know, we were ready for it because we were pretty successful before that, but it was stressful. It was so much work. It was hard. I mean, I think the year before, 2020, I think as a company, we had funded like almost $1 billion, and it, like in the broker world, I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Seriously. But it's not like that anymore. It's just everything's streamlined, everything's easy. So we were ready for this when we met, and then it was just a matter of it all just kind of taking its form and meetings and appointments and meetings and appointments, and I think I had to do a lot of massaging on both ends, you know, just kind of being in the middle of it. Just breathe. Just breathe. Everything's going to be fine.
Have Xanax if you need to.
Yep. I remember a lot of it. I was doing a lot of coaching on both sides. You need to go down there in person. Stop emailing. I'm taking your computer away. Stuff like that. It was just like, but I felt good about it. And to be honest with you, one thing I do every single morning is I walk every morning. I don't care if it's raining, snowing. It doesn't snow here, but I go someplace that is snowing, I'll still go. But I walk every single morning, and the only thing I focus on, I'm not on my phone. I'm just focusing on what that I feel good about happening. So, and that's every single morning.
That's where it starts, right?
Yep, every morning. And I remember for almost 9 months, I was trying to manifest this.
Wow.
And I felt good about it, though. I knew it was a matter of time. I just didn't know when it was going to come together, and then it had finally happened, and here it is.
And I remember when Chuck came to Max and I and to Mo, and he was saying, you know, who's your like all-star loan officer? Like, who do you?
I remember that.
Who is that person? If there was someone, like, one name came to mind, of course, and that was Christian Dianda.
Yeah.
He's great at salsa dancing, you know.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Brings wine and Lunchables to the table. So I said, Christian Dianda, I mean, if we're going to do this and we're going to do it at a high level, and we need to find a way to have him be a part of this.
I remember, and I met him, and I immediately liked him. Immediately, absolutely. So since then, I've gotten to spend a lot of time with him, and honestly, I can call him my friend for sure. Absolutely. It's just like we have a lot in common, and we're actually a couple weeks apart. You know, we kind of came a similar path. I'm born in December. He's born in November. Scorpio over here. Sagittarius, I am. Yeah. But it's just a tremendous relationship person, understands the nature of them and how important that they are, and immediately makes everyone happy when he walks into the room. It's super fun. Everyone gets excited when he comes, you know, and we're excited to see him now here every single day. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
I think what makes this team here great is that in real estate, well, Oprah said it, I didn't say it. Oprah said, money and fame makes you more of who you truly are. And in real estate, in loans, you can make a lot of money. So that can actually make you a really big asshole, or it can make you more of who you are. And I think here in this team, for the first time in a long time, we have the money to live our lives however we want to. Right. And I don't think anyone in this room is an egotistical kind of like, trying to overpower people. We have the money to be who we want to be, but we're still out there trying to make other people, you know, their dreams come true and help other people.
Yeah, that's really what it's about. I mean, our whole platform now is designed to get new realtors, new loan officers, people who are just coming into this, and teach them and show them the right way to be successful. It's like a whole new generation of people in this business I see when we're writing offers now. I'm like, I have no idea who any of these people are. I've never seen these names before. But it's pretty cool to have the opportunity to, because Christian and I do a lot of the training with the realtors here and the loan officers on my branch, and it's exciting to teach them the way that we've learned over the last however many years, decade or so, of how to do things the right way. It's super fun to do that because you get to teach people things that, I mean, this is not really knowledge, it's wisdom, and you can only do that with experience, and it's exciting to break down people's resistance and show them the way to do it so they can be successful. It's more exciting for them to be successful.
That's true.
And I think one of the coolest things is that we all, you mentioned teaching, right? So we all teach here at the table.
Yeah.
And we're not teaching from just experience. We're teaching from experience and also from actually doing transactions.
100%.
And a lot of companies, you don't get that. I mean, you might have a coach who really doesn't produce. You might have a broker whose last deal was, 15, 20 years ago.
Yep.
Or a managing partner who's, not all they do is manage. Here we're all, actually producing.
We're producing.
We have teams. We're teaching, not only from experience but also from present, experiences, right?
Yeah, we've all been in the trenches.
Yeah.
And we still are.
And thank you for bringing that up, Christian. I love that you said that we all have a giving heart.
Yeah.
And I see that around the table. And of course, I'm going to be emotional. I drank wine now, and I'm going to be all. But I think that's what it is. I know for me, my true joy is, and it's funny that you say when you first met me, it's very strong, and I think that's my sheriff's side.
Yeah.
But inside, I'm just a big, just melting. I have a big heart, and I think for me, the greatest joy is when I see the progress of those agents, that they come in and they maybe have a part-time job. They can't let go of that because they still need to pay their bills, and they're having a hard time. They're not even homeowners, but they have a real estate license and they have a dream and goals. And to be able to just talk about that and encourage them and help them see themselves, help them with their mindset so that they know that they can do it. Because like I said before, real estate is very lonely and it's very challenging. So when I see the progress and where people were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and then seeing them get their new car and become homeowners and just change their lives, that's, I think, the true joy.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And today's episode is sponsored by Marina Vista Escrow, and they are a full-service escrow company that handles sales and refinances throughout California. Marina Vista Escrow is committed to providing you with top-quality customer service. They simplify the closing process through the use of the most current technology, so that way they can service your transactions quickly and efficiently. Open your next escrow with Marina Vista Escrow at 619-779-7174.
So let's talk about what's to come. Like, what are the big plans moving forward into the year 2022? A little bit of a forecast. Let's hear from our broker expert. What is something
kind
exciting?
Of forecast?
Let's see, excitement for the office. Like, where do you see it? Like, I know we're working on putting different lead sources together. We're starting to see some of those leads flowing. Actually, I think next weeks I'm going to be interviewing those agents who are doing it at a high level already, receiving those leads and those live calls. But moving into this year and everything that we've talked about, give us something that.
Well, I mean, what else can we say? I mean, we have all these lead platforms. We have agents excited about working leads, and they're showing up to our call parties, the boiler room, which is something I haven't seen in a long time in any company. I mean, people will show up on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 5 to 8 p.m. or 4 to 8 p.m. and just calling, new leads, old leads, their sphere. That camaraderie that you get from being in the same room and that energy, you can't match it. I mean, it's like it's very different to be at home calling and you get a no and you get discouraged versus hearing somebody else get a no and kind of shaking it off or saying, hey, it's cool, you get the next time, or hearing that advice of, hey, try doing this. That on-site, on-demand feedback and energy is really something I haven't seen anywhere, and I've been doing this for 21 years. So that's exciting. I anticipate those growing into more than just call parties, but also having adding some fun to it, right? Maybe you have a ping pong table, you have something that you can get distracted on. A new building might be in our sites here for next year.
Yes.
So that's a space that I think will just exponentially grow the excitement and our agent count. A lot of trainings, a lot of good intentions, and really just excitement all around to be a part of something big.
Definitely. Going back to what you were saying about people at the boiler room, people doing it together. I think what's great about 24/7 WCF is that they're a family because of shared experience, not because of a shared brand. That's what you find a lot in older brokerages and companies. You're together because you're under the same brand umbrella, but here you're together because of the shared experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's very deep.
Pretty good.
It's the
You haven't
wine.
even had.
It's the wine.
It's the wine.
It's
Wow.
a little bit of it.
I want some of that Coppola wine.
That's rancid.
Isn't Francis Coppola? Actually, I went to that winery in Napa. Francis Coppola was the Godfather.
Yeah, the director of The Godfather.
Yes.
And Dracula too, no?
And yes, Francis Ford Coppola. Yes,
Yep.
you're right.
Some
Great
good
movie.
wine.
Kids are reading that in school.
Are they?
That's why I said that.
So a lot of excitement, great partnership. I've been in the business 17 years. Mo, you've been in the business for 20 years. I mean, between Christian and Chuck, you guys have been in the mortgage industry.
22.
20. I said more than 20 years.
I'm old.
You don't look old. That's the thing. You're only as old as you look.
What did you say, Christian?
You're only as
old
old
but
as you
young
look.
at.
No, yes, you're old in the face, but young in heart.
Yeah.
Old in the face.
Well, that's me. That's definitely me. Oh, man.
But I think the right partnership and just that the open door agents can come in, ask anything to any one of us, and we're always available and always willing to stop what we're doing and help. And they have a lot of input into what kind of training they want to see, what kind of resources they want to have. So I love it. I think for the first time in 17 years and then running a brokerage for past 7 years, it's just, I feel it myself, just the fresh approach, the camaraderie, the agents are just willing to open and share, and everybody's exciting. I mean, even though it's a tough market out there, it's tough. I mean, everyone can agree. It's a tough one to get your offers accepted. But even at that, there's still that excitement and brainstorming and sharing ideas.
I mean, I think if you're an agent and survive 2008, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
If you survive that and you're still going, I mean, lack of inventory will eventually ease. So, it's just a little hurdle that you have to get through.
There's always hurdles. I mean, I think one guy I used to work where, he used to tell me that every single time something happens, it's like a step up. You got to step up and go above it. Because, I mean, the mortgage industry in general has changed so much, right? I mean, there was a time when I got in the industry in 2005. I mean, no one even had to qualify then, right? And all of a sudden, everyone has to qualify. No one's going to be able to get a loan. Well, people can still get a loan. Then they would add things. And then there was the new GFE, and then there was the next GFE, and then there was TRID, and then there was this, and then there was that. And then they add all these things. And they're going to keep reforming things as we go to benefit and protect people and home buyers. I mean, I think the biggest thing right now they're talking about right now is just interest rates rising from what they've been. They were historically the lowest they ever were a year and a month ago. The lowest rates ever were in the history of ever, pretty much. And now they're moving on up. So we'll see if that's sustainable, though. Yeah. I'm hearing that might not last, though.
It's still historically low. My dad, when
It's still low.
we moved to the U.S., bought his first house, and the interest rate was 18%. And he thought that was a steal because in Mexico it was 32%.
Wow.
So, again, 4%, even if we're 4, I mean, still.
It's still less than half of the historic average.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
And look where we're at. We're in San Diego. When has it ever been bad time to be a realtor or a mortgage loan officer in San Diego? I mean, I have a team in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it's negative 10, negative 15 degrees.
That. Can you come
Where
open the house for me?
try holding an open house in that type of weather. I mean, real estate
I didn't even think about that.
stops or comes to very slow just during that
It's
this
crazy.
time of season.
We're blessed here.
I never thought about that.
We're licensed in 45 states, so we do loans all over the country. And in our branch, we're doing loans in Tennessee, Texas, Florida, and it's amazing the pace at which we go here compared to there.
Yeah.
It's like way different. They're like, there's no sense of urgency at all. It's just like the longest things. I mean, California is the easiest state to do this business. It's so much easier, seriously. Like, oh, it's amazing.
No, San Diego's great.
Yep, 100%.
Talk about San Diego and here us being hyper local. Do you guys have any update on the Millennium Project? Are they still building more houses? Or is that
Good question. We need Mr. Zaker here to answer that.
Okay.
Planning Commissioner Zaker.
Appears like they are.
Well, that's what they were blessed. I think in us, our branch of 24/7 being here in the South Bay and specifically in Chula Vista, we're still building a lot, and we're still within the county, one of the most affordable and reachable neighborhoods. I think our agents here have access to more potential buyers and listings than any other part of the county.
I think there's a lot of development. I mean, I know Max every month is approving developments here and there. So I know there's a lot of developments just throughout Chula Vista, not just Millennia, but I know that there's a lot of still land that was planned out that still hasn't been built out. And I think maybe there's more of a holdup on different permits or whatever at the state level, or they allow so many just to come out not fast enough to meet up with the demand. But I know we're still very low on what's already been approved to be built that's coming out. So that's something exciting that hopefully will help move the needle a little bit. Because I think last time we checked, there was what months of inventory?
I think 1.5.
Crazy.
Countywide.
Wow.
Might be less right now.
And then West Coast Funding, Cornerstone is how many days to get a loan closed?
Or pretty much 15 days, start to finish. And that's by design.
Yep.
Pretty much the way we prep our files to get them ready to go ahead of time. We do a lot with them. We don't do skinny pre-approvals. When we pre-approve them, they're fully pre-approved. We pre-process them. So when we go into escrow, we just need escrow-related items. Appraisal if we need it. Title. Insurance. Stuff like that.
Knock it out.
We know what we need. So
that's helping get offers accepted.
It does help.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary, too, if you think about it, because just to get back on the subject of rates for just a minute, they're creeping up, and they're historically low. But, I mean, I follow a lot of people on rates, and there's one guy, he's always right, and like he's still projecting this. And Barry Habib is still saying that come August or so, we're going to see the rates lower than they were last year.
Really?
That's what he's saying. I know. It's the opposite, right? I thought going into the pandemic year that rates were going to start going up, and then they went down, and then they went down again. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So just imagine the effects of that. If rates went back down to where they were prior to a year ago, I remember we're talking at that time, high balance loans were 2.25%, something like that. It was really, really low. Because right now, you got people trying to enter the market right now, and I've never seen people with higher debt to income ratios. They're right there. I mean, I had a client yesterday. He makes like $12,000 a month, and his debt to income ratio was barely qualifying just because of what he's trying to buy and what he's trying to do. The
more you make, the more you spend.
Right, and he didn't have a lot of debt really. It's just he's trying to buy something for $875. There's a solar lease. There's an HOA. There's Melrose. There's PMI because he's putting 10% down. Those types of stuff, and it's just barely kind of skimming by. So what happens if the rates do drop down like that? Again, all of a sudden now all these people are now able to. Now you got even more of a pressure for homes because now more people in the market.
Now he's going to want $1 million house, and it's going to be the same DTI.
You're right now having agents jump out windows. You know that.
It's going to be insane if that happens.
Now, is this guy usually right?
Barry Habib? No, he's right more than he's not. So, yeah, Barry Habib's been pretty dialed in on most of these things. So.
I used to write.
He predicted the last drop.
I used to write to Walter Mercado for my rates, but actually,
you can't do that anymore.
You can't do that. It's on the afterlife.
That's exciting. Hey, I learned something new today.
Let's see what happens.
Well, I know for next podcast, we're going to be, like I said, interviewing a couple people who are receiving some live leads. So I'm excited about that. And then we'll get what's to come. What's to come? What do you guys what do you guys see these podcasts turning into, like into the future? What do you think? What would you want to talk about, and what do you think others would want?
I'd like to see some testimonials. Just talk about going back to what we were speaking about earlier about this energy, this vibe, and sometimes you think it's the new agents that are looking to grow and expand. Earlier today, we have a new agent named Robert Arka. He's an older gentleman. He had actually retired from the industry. His wife passed away, and so he's like, I need to do something. Was at a different brand, and it was just a solo agent, kind of just doing his thing. And he moved here recently, and one of the great things about 24/7 WCF is you can be both. You can do loans, you can do real estate.
Yep.
And he's so pumped up and energetic. He tells me, Christian, can I invite some people to the gala? Because I want to start my own real estate team and my own lending team. So someone that had retired and was looking just to be a quiet realtor, moves to 24/7 is trying to start 2 teams, both in lending and in real estate. And so
I believe he'll do it.
Really refreshing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great model too. It's because West Coast Funding, we are a bank, so we are under the DBO, Department of Corporations, right? That's our oversight, our business oversight. Real estate is DRE, so you can actually be doing both. Now the good thing is that in the past, my opinion of that was very different. I used to think, if you're a realtor/loan officer, you're probably not maybe graded either. Like, so if you're a doctor and an attorney at the same time, it's kind of like, how good could you really be?
Attorney and
but
doctor.
the way it works well is that, I mean, in my branch, we kind of have 2 tiers of loan officers. We have our loan officers that are just branch loan officers. They don't do real estate. That's all that they do. But I have a bunch now of people who are realtors and loan officers. And it's great too. It works out well because we're staffed accordingly where we have really, really strong loan assistants and we have an amazing processor. So, I mean, realistically speaking, if you're a real estate agent and you want to do your own loans, great, get your NMLS license. You don't have to relearn the entire industry in order to get transactions in and get paid on your own deals because we have the systems for it. Just turn it in.
No, that's great. Like I said, I was really, again, just seeing him just blossom like that.
Yeah.
From one move to the next, that was, really rewarding today.
Yeah. Love it. Well, this was great, guys. I know this is our, did we do good, Mr. Broker?
I don't know. I think we did better than last time, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we passed. TBD.
We'll leave it up to our producer.
So any other thoughts before we end this podcast as what's to come? So I know testimonials, kind of predictions of what's going to happen later on in the year. Mo about the leads that are coming and just what to expect from there in the boiler room and maybe sharing some stories, some success stories, right?
And horror stories. Those are just as important.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Everybody loves a good horror story.
We just want to hear about the guy that died when you're in Chuck's transaction.
Oh man.
Man.
I think all of us, we should have a podcast.
I remember hearing about that.
Where we should just talk about all our horror stories between all of us. I think we can all bring our stories. Actually, Brianna's writing it down. Look at that. Horror stories.
We'll save that one for Halloween.
Guy died while signing loan docs.
Right?
Horror.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining. Stay tuned to the next podcast. We're excited about that one. And visit us. Come stop by.
Literally, come visit us.
Come
visit us. Come see the vibe and join us on Lumi February 16th.
Have a Topo Chico on chat.
Topo Chico.
You got him.
Chicharron.
Not on him, but on him.
Right.
Well,
With a bag of chicharron on the side.
Depends.
We'll
that'll get your loan accepted. That'll get your offer
We'll see what it
accepted.
is. Depends on who it is.
All in.
All in, baby.
Signing off.